There we go. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And shout out to Willow Pellman. Thank you for joining us.
Yay. Do you have a question for me today?
No, actually. Oh, I should have thought of something.
You were all about, I'm going to do this every time.
Well, no, I didn't say I was going to do it every time. I just said I normally do. And then when I don't, it's like awkward. But I totally forgot.
How you doing,
Yeah.
Jackson? Oh, Jackson's feeling it right now. He's having a time.
Yeah, someone just had a catnip.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
All right. Here's a question.
Oh.
What's your favorite book adaptation to screen? TV shows or movies?
Hey.
Hello.
I mean, I might be biased because I've been listening to it a lot lately, but Jurassic Park is pretty high up there.
I mean, I don't want to be copying you, but you know that that's my favorite.
It's just so good.
Mm.
And then all the changes they made.
It was my favorite before I even read the book.
All the changes they made were just great decisions, good decisions. Such a good movie. Like, one of the best movies of all time ever.
Speaking of one of the best movies. Hi, Katie. How was George of the Jungle?
Yes.
I remember when we watched it again.
You're so feisty right now.
That's how he's been all day. I remember when we watched it again. So many of the jokes that just went over my head as a kid just made it so enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's a nostalgia trip for sure, too. So it's got that going on for it. Hi, I'm a fan. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm trying to think of other ones that were really good. I really liked The Color Purple. That was really well done.
I thought the movie was well done. I never read the book though.
It's pretty well.
Right, it did. There's a lot of movies I won't go back and watch, but
because you don't want to ruin them.
I took the risk with George of the Jungle, and it was actually entertaining.
Yeah,
still good.
Definitely. Nah, George of the Jungle was good.
This is why Brendan Fraser is a national treasure.
For George of the Jungle. And
all of his movies.
The Mummy.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of jokes that go over your head.
Basically everything that Ape says.
Everything that Ape says, and the narrator too.
Yeah.
I love the narrator.
The narrator's
I'm trying to think of other adaptations that were really good. I mean, The Color Purple was really good, but I still think I like Jurassic Park more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Every time I always find issues.
There's always an issue when you.
Definitely not Harry Potter.
After this season of The Witcher.
Well, I shouldn't say that. The first movie is actually very good.
Yeah.
The first Harry Potter film is actually very good, I think.
I'm super glad that he's going to be in movies again, too. Yeah, he needed to come back.
He deserves it. He needed a win. And everyone is so supportive and so happy. He's on a TV show right now, I think.
He was. They killed off his character.
Yeah, he was like a minor character or something in a season of some show. You know, I know this is kind of silly, but Jackson looks so orange on screen.
Oh, maybe my colors in OBS are like adjusted wrong, but no, actually he looks all right. He looks normal. That's about as orange as normally looks.
I didn't mean in like a bad way. He looks orange. Like he's very vibrant. That's what I meant.
Yeah. But that's just how he looks. Like, yeah, he really doesn't look any different on camera than in real life. So, yeah, no trick of the light. Jackson is just very bright.
He is that orange. Yeah, I think that's all I got as far as movie adaptations that I really liked, right off the top of my head.
I was hoping you'd say something else because Jurassic Park is definitely mine. But I will say, I think a close second is Dune, because Dune,
yeah,
Jurassic Park, like, was able to remove things and put things in a clever way so that the whole story held up, and the action held up, and the characters held up. But Dune was just like, we're just gonna stay faithful.
Yeah,
like 95%. We're not gonna.
That's true.
Yeah.
Dune was really, really good.
We
need part 2.
Yeah, they didn't take any risk with removing a lot of stuff out or changing stuff for the big screen. They were just like,
we are going to tell the story, and that is what we are going to do. Half of it, anyway. We got to get the second half. Oh my!
You smell like catnip. Speaking of stories, so all the young dudes.
It was Christmas last time.
It was.
And Dumbledore showed up and totally killed Christmas.
I know. What a Scrooge.
He really was a Debbie Downer.
Merry Christmas. By the way, people are dying. We need to go.
Yeah. That was kind of a... Like, I don't even think the Potters had their party after that.
No, how could you?
Yeah.
Like, okay, everyone, just forget about that. Let's drink up.
Yeah, just...
Goes from merry drinking to depression drinking.
Yeah. Yep. That was pretty much everything that happened, wasn't it?
That and...
Your teeths. Your teeths.
We found out... Well, we didn't really get it confirmed, but it's pretty obvious Lily has something for Lupin.
Yeah, she made him a scarf or something, right?
And that she keeps wanting to go to the library with him.
Yes. Dumbledore was probably annoyed he got socks again. Maybe that's his trouble. Jackson's trying to bite me. See?
He's feisty. And then Lupin also had a little moment with Ferox.
Oh yeah, they smoked cigarettes and hung out.
No, Lupin, let me get it for you.
With my thick, knobbly wand.
Lupin is a child. You stop that.
He's 14.
Child.
He's still a child.
Mm-hmm. So you stop that.
Lupin's the one that noticed his wand. That's all I'm saying. Well, oh yeah, the movies thing. They went to the movies.
Oh yeah.
And Sirius and James kissed the girls.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that part because he saw the couple looked like they were like wrestling or something.
Yeah.
A grappling match.
Yeah,
is what he called it.
Yes, and Lupin didn't like it.
No.
Because Lupin wants to grapple with Sirius.
And I can't remember if it was the last stream or the stream before, but we did find out that Wormtail won.
Yes, Wormtail won the bet.
No, it was last
It
stream.
was last stream. Yep. Wormtail won the bet. Which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, had to. So Wormtail's the coolest of all the Marauders.
Absolutely. Him and Desdemona Lewis got it going on. Right, Jackson? Right, Jackson?
And on that note, what do you say we
I was just looking.
Yep, Sirius and James.
I mean,
they had to catch up to Wormtail.
Somehow.
Wormtail's being a leader.
I know.
Showing them how it's done.
Are we ready?
I am so ready.
Let's do this. Chapter 65. 4th year. January. Wednesday, 8th of January, 1975. Dumbledore was quite right. The Fraser family's murder was front-page news on Boxing Day, followed by a series of features and articles on the mounting war which dominated the rest of Christmas break. It was the first time Remus, or any of them, ever saw the Dark Mark, and they had no idea that it was a symbol they would fear for the rest of their lives. A great black skull with a great gaping mouth and a long ropey serpent writhing forth. It was distinctly Slytherin-esque, and as soon as they were back at Hogwarts, Sirius blasted the remaining snake motifs off his trunk. "Careful, mate," James said as smoke from Sirius's spell filled the room. "You might be ruining a family heirloom there." "I don't give a shit," Sirius replied, firing his wand at the blackened wood once more for good measure. "It's mine, and I don't want anything of mine to have that ruddy mark on it." It was pointless trying to reason with him. Since Dumbledore's visit to the Potters, Sirius's hatred for anything remotely Slytherin had increased tenfold. He'd been using hexes to defend younger students from Slytherins all year, but now he seemed to be actively seeking out trouble. "The war isn't happening here," Remus tried telling him once after his third detention in as many days. "Dumbledore told us to be vigilant, not start fights." "The war is everywhere," Sirius replied, and James nodded in agreement. "Anyway, you can talk. What about you and Snape?" "That," Remus replied piously, "was personal." It was true. He didn't hate Snape because he was a dark wizard or a Slytherin or anything like that. Remus didn't like Snape because he was a nosy busybody. That, and nobody really liked Snape, except Lily. Actually, Remus thought to himself, as he looked across the common room at Lily, sitting by Marlene, working on some sort of transfiguration spell on a pair of shoes. Even Lily hadn't been hanging around Severus very much these days. Perhaps they'd fallen out. The redhead looked up and met his eyes, smiling brightly. He smiled back. James, sitting next to him, waved, and Lily rolled her eyes and returned to the spell she was working on. "Doesn't she know how much I've matured?" James sighed heavily, thumbing through the pages of his textbook. "I don't know if snogging a muggle in the back of the cinema really counts as maturing," Remus replied, rescuing the manhandled book and smoothing down the corners James had bent. "I didn't mean that," James grinned. "Just like, in general. I don't get it. I get on with Marlene okay." "You're on the Quidditch team with Marlene," Peter said. "You've got stuff in common with her." Peter had become very wise since getting a girlfriend. "So what?" James said slowly. "You think I should try and get Lily on the Quidditch team?" Peter tutted pitifully. "Why don't you find out something you both have in common? Like how me and Desdemona both like chess and cheese sandwiches and—" "We've got nothing in common," James replied dreamily. "That's why I like her." They're asking for a shout-out again.
Oh, well, we did give you one at the beginning, but shout out to Willow. How's it going?
"Never going to happen, then," Peter sniffed with an air of finality. James looked crestfallen. "Don't listen to him," Remus said, taking pity. "People don't just go out with people because they're the same. That would be boring. Opposites attract and all that." "Yeah, you're right, Moony," James cheered up. "Maybe I should find out what sort of stuff she likes, though." Yeah, might be a start." Remus shook his head, returning to his charms essay. He'd made his peace with the girl obsession now. It was just easier to nod along and pretend to be sympathetic. Fortunately, most of James and Sirius's attention was taken up with training for the upcoming Quidditch match against Slytherin, which was set up for early February. With the war looming over everyone, the competition between the two houses had taken on a new and important meaning, and Sirius and James treated their positions on the team as full-time occupations. As a consequence, Remus saw very little of them at the beginning of the spring term. He spent much of his time in the library as usual, and when the other two went on the pitch practicing, with Peter watching of course, they were in detention for one thing or another. There was hardly any time to work on the map, or even plan a new prank. The Marauders passed each other like ships in the night. The situation grew so extreme that when the first Hogsmeade weekend rolled round halfway through January, Remus found himself without anyone to go with. He almost considered not going at all until Lily brought it up in potions one afternoon, suggesting that he go with her and, he assumed, Mary and Marlene. It sounded like a nice enough way to spend his Saturday, and he remembered that he still owed Lily a present for Christmas. He agreed, met Lily in the common room on Saturday morning, and they started down toward the Hogwarts front entrance. "What happened to the M's?" Remus asked, surprised, when he found they were alone. Lily blushed, but that might have been cold air. I thought it could just be the two of us this time. Fair enough, he smiled. He liked Lily's company very much, almost as much as the Marauders. So what are they all in detention for? She asked, as they trudged through the snow down to the village. Various things, Remus waved his hand. Peter got caught out of bounds after dark, James got the blame for changing the words on the Slytherin trophies, and I think Sirius hexed a second year. Typical, Lily tutted. Yeah, Remus grinned as they trudged through the snow, following the trail of dark-robed students ahead of them. The trophy was brilliant, though, you have to admit. That charm lasted 7 days. It wasn't a very nice thing to do, though. Lily frowned. Remus sighed. Why did girls always want to be nice? Once they reached the village, they stopped at the stationer's because they both needed new quills. Remus bought one for Sirius and one for Peter, too, because they'd asked, telling Lily how Peter pressed too hard on his parchment and snapped 2 quills a week, leaving blotches everywhere, and how Sirius only used the most expensive brand because he was vain about his handwriting. After that, they went to the post office, where Remus sent the Potters a package on James's behalf. It was Mrs. Potter's birthday, he explained to Lily, and James hated missing any occasion to give a gift. Freezing cold by then, they decided that a butterbeer had be the next port of call, and opted for the 3 broomsticks. They found a small table by the fireplace and sat companionably, chatting about their lessons and their Christmases. Lily had had a big fight with her sister, which she talked about at great length. Remus told her about going to see Death Wish, but didn't mention Dumbledore's visit. Do you go to the Potters every year, then? Lily asked.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yes, Remus said fervently. They're amazing. Me and Sirius always go, and Pete's only up the road from James, so that's cool. Are you 4 always together? Lily looked amused. It rubbed Remus up the wrong way. They're my friends, my best mates. I know that, she replied, sounding a bit snippy herself. But you've been talking about them all afternoon. Have not, Remus grunted defensively, looking into his butterbeer, embarrassed. So what if I have? Well, I sort of wanted to get to know you better, not your friends. Lily had 2 red patches in her cheeks now, like a Dutch doll. Remus couldn't understand why she was so annoyed. You know me, though. You've known me for 4 years. Lily stared at him, disbelieving. Then her expression changed. She ran a hand through her hair and laughed humorlessly. Oh, Remus, she sighed. What? She shook her head. I'm such an idiot. You really have no idea why I wanted to spend the weekend with you, do you? He shrugged. She smiled, giving him that pitying look that girls were so good at. Never mind, she said. Don't worry about it. After that, the tone of the afternoon seemed to change. Lily appeared to relax into her usual self and started joking along with him. She even had a bit of a whinge about Snape, who said something extremely rude to Mary recently. Remus never got to the bottom of why she'd been so moody in the first place, but he decided that it might have just been him mentioning his friends. She'd always been clear about finding them annoying. She would only accept the price of a butterbeer from him by way of a present, and assured that he needn't feel like he owed her anything. It wasn't until the next day, when Remus, James, Sirius, and Peter were all sitting at breakfast, that everything became clear. James and Sirius were in their Quidditch robes ready for practice, furtively discussing tactics, while Peter listened with deep interest, nodding and murmuring, "Yeah, exactly," now and then. Remus was checking his book list. He had several to return, and a few more he still needed to cross-reference before he could complete his Transfiguration essay. Marlene sat down next to them in her own red robes and reached for the tea. "So," she addressed Remus, "how'd yesterday go?" He asked, looking up from his parchment. "Yesterday? You and Lily in Hogsmeade?" She was giving him a very knowing smile. "She wouldn't tell us what happened, so it must be good." "What are you talking about?" "Yeah," Sirius looked up curiously. "What are you talking about, McKinnon?" Didn't he tell you?" She stirred sugar into her tea innocently. "Remus and Lily were on a date yesterday." "What?" James, Sirius, and Remus all exclaimed at the same time. Sirius began to laugh. "Moony on a date? With Evans?" James looked horrified. "Bloody hell," Peter said. It wasn't a date, Remus said, slamming down his quill. As he said the words, he felt a horrible sinking feeling. Had it been a date? How are you supposed to know if people ambushed you like that? He looked at James desperately. But I don't fancy Lily, she's just a friend. Yeah, I know, mate, James said, though Remus didn't think he sounded very sure. It's fine. I'll see you after practice. With that, James got up and left the table. Sirius stared after him for a moment, then looked at Remus, then back at James, before shrugging helplessly and getting up to follow his friend out of the hall. Peter followed shortly after, and Remus lay his head on the table, groaning. Wow, I'm sorry, Remus, Marlene said very quietly. I had no idea. James really fancies her then. Remus groaned again before getting up and grabbing his books. I'm off to the library, he said, not looking at her. He didn't go to the library, though, in case Marlene went to find him there, or even worse, told Lily and Mary where he was. For the first time since his second year, Remus went into hiding. The problem with this, of course, was how much he'd grown since his second year. Most of his usual nooks and crannies were simply too small now. In the end, he settled himself behind the statue of the humpback witch, just inside the passageway to Honeyduke's. It was dark, but his wand was lit, and the faint smell of chocolate was very comforting. He tried to read, but his brain wouldn't let him concentrate. It seemed to just want to keep playing his visit to Hogsmeade over and over again. Had Lily said something he'd missed? Had it been in her body language, maybe, when she dropped hints? Would James have understood them? Would Sirius have? It was very unfair, Remus thought to himself pittily. Lily was a very good friend. Why would she want to muddle it all up with feelings and holding hands and kissing? He really hoped he wouldn't have to talk to her about it now. Maybe she was just as embarrassed as he was. Worst of all, what if James never spoke to him again? He didn't know how to explain that he didn't see Lily in that way, not when every other Gryffindor in their year seemed hell-bent on coupling up. Maybe he ought to have snogged Marlene when she'd offered back in November. He wondered if they'd all leave him alone since he'd got it over with. You've got to start snogging girls sometime, he told himself. Everybody does it. It's normal. But not Lily. He couldn't do that to James. In fact, Remus decided that was probably the very reason he wasn't interested in her, because she was otherwise extremely pretty, funny, kind, clever, and better than him at charms. Lily was just the sort of girl he would fancy, Remus knew for sure. It was just that his friendship with James was much more important. Feeling very enlightened and self-sacrificing, Remus emerged from his hiding place. He set off down the nearest staircase, planning to go to the Quidditch pitch and catch the last few minutes of practice. After that, he would do something nice for James, offer to read over his history essay or something. Yes, then everything would be all right again. But as Remus had once been told, the best-laid plans often go wrong. He was just nearing the bottom of the staircase, taking it 3 steps at a time just because he could, and not really looking where he was going. He knocked headlong into another student coming up. "Watch it, mudblood," Severus Snape snarled, scrambling to his feet, glaring at Remus. Remus tutted. "Piss off, Snivellus, I'm much as half-blood as you are." "You and I have nothing in common, I assure you," Snape replied haughtily, brushing off his robes. "I suppose when it comes to hygiene standards—" "Careful, loony Lupin." Snape narrowed his beady eyes. "Don't say something you'll regret." "Oh, bugger off," Remus replied impatiently, stepping forward. "I haven't got time for this. Either curse me now or get out of my way." Snape stepped to the side at once, giving a flourish with his hand to show Remus he was free to go. It was disquieting, but Remus couldn't worry about that now, and continued on his way.
I mean, Lupin has a point there. Snape is just as much of a half-blood as him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So is Voldemort.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Obviously, the rules are pretty lenient.
Fair enough.
I also like the little hint in there. I guess not hint, but a little Easter egg where they talk about the comforting smell of chocolate.
Yeah, Remus and the chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He loves his chocolate.
He does love his chocolate.
And, I mean, that wasn't the worst date in Hogsmeade we've read about. So
I was gonna say that it could have been worse, for sure.
I mean, and if you want to take some of this as canon, it's kind of weird, you know. Could have been Harry's father. Could still be Harry's father.
He's not.
I have that theory that maybe
He's not.
But maybe
He's not. He literally looks just like James.
Coincidence.
I think not. Yeah, the Cho and Harry date by far was worse though.
Oh yeah.
But definite similarities for sure.
Yeah. Though I will say Lupin and Harry both as clueless.
Yes, both of them clearly have no idea what's happening. Not a clue.
You don't know why I wanted to come with you? No?
We're friends. I just thought we were coming to hang out.
Does there have to be a reason?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Lily handled it better, I think.
Yeah, much better.
Cho lost it.
Well, it's different when if Lupin was like, yes, I want to go on a date with you, and then was like, oh, but I gotta go see this other girl.
It was a one-sided date. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
At least they're friends. And now, but James. Ooh.
I think James is a little upset.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like, Lupin, what the hell, dude? And Lupin's sitting there like, I didn't know! I don't know what's happening! I'm confused! All the time!
What did I do?
Poor Lupin. I do feel bad for him. He just has no idea. He's...
I know. There's a part of me that can believe the whole idea that, you know, he doesn't realize that he's attracted to Ferox and stuff like that. But for him to be quite as clueless as he is when it comes to dating and relationships and having like no hormonal drive at that age, I don't know. It's a little unbelievable.
You would think at this point he would have a hormonal drive and it would be more, not so much that he's totally clueless, but more like, why do I feel this way about Ferox but not about girls?
Yeah.
Or Sirius, you know.
I think that part of the story is kind of a little unrealistic. You know, at first,
Yeah.
okay, but at this point, he's like 14, do we say?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is his third year, so
Yeah.
14, like,
You
he knows. You know at this age.
I think it would be more just being conflicted.
You might be confused, but you
or
know,
conflicted
you
about
know how
like
things
this isn't supposed to. Why do I feel how James feels about Lily, but I feel that way about Ferox and Sirius? Like that's wrong. And having that kind of inner conflict, but being totally confused.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Being oblivious that someone likes you, like, yeah, who hasn't been there?
Yeah, right. Being totally
like that is totally believable.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. A good point, Katie. That he's brushing off the feelings and just like he's just in such denial about it.
Yeah, I just admire Ferox, that's all.
But he's just a good teacher.
Yeah.
I had to pull the cake out of the bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a possibility, though. Total denial. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that. Total denial.
Powerful drug, denial.
It is. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is how it was before the internet.
Well, he's got nobody to talk to. It's the 70s. Homosexuality is still considered like a deviancy. So,
yeah,
it could just be denial.
Yeah.
That he just is like, he's in so much denial, he's not even conscious of what's happening. You know what I mean?
Next year is when he finally understands.
That makes sense.
15, that's, yeah.
It's when Harry dates Cho.
So, yeah.
Year 4 is when it all starts, and then year 5 is when it like kicks into hyperdrive for everybody. He admires Ferox's wand for its magical ability and nothing else.
Nothing else.
That's it. There's no innuendo there whatsoever. Not even a smidgen.
Ferox's wand isn't only lighting a fire on the tip of his cigarettes, but in his heart. So what's the next chapter? Well, these don't really have like titles anymore. It's just like Christmas or December.
Yeah, it's just the month.
January.
So,
what do you think is going to happen in this next chapter? Do you think?
I don't know. It's February, so is
Mm,
Ferox gonna get some
love is in the air.
everywhere I look around?
Is James gonna?
Is Ferox gonna have Valentine's get sent out like Lockhart does in book 2?
Maybe. I was gonna say maybe James and Lupin are gonna get into a fight.
Maybe there's gonna be a riff.
I feel bad for Lupin. He's gonna be so confused. What? I went on? No, I didn't. I didn't go on a date with her. I mean, chapter title names are hard.
Well, and when you have 188 chapters, but
yeah. I mean, as someone who has to come up with titles for all of our live streams and videos, I can definitely say that it's quite hard sometimes. Sometimes your brain just doesn't want to work.
Well, I just went through a little chapter skim.
Yeah.
And it's specifically 4th year is just like this.
Oh, just 4th year is just February, January.
Yeah. Oh. And then we get to 5th year, and then they have names and stuff again.
Oh. See, it was just writer's block for a little bit.
Maybe
like I said, like some days I can come up with a title like that for the streams, and then other days it's like...
Katie just said she likes the name of this stream.
Oh, thank you.
We had...
That was like a collaboration.
We had Willow ask us for a shout-out again, please.
No, I already said that.
Oh, okay. Okay. They was there twice, so I didn't... Okay.
Yeah, Tale of Two Canines.
It was good. He was asking me, and I was like, I don't know, I can't think right now. My brain was just not working. I had nothing going on. And then, boom, he just came up with that one. So I'm impressed. It was a good one.
Really?
Yes.
Impressed? Oh,
yes. I thought it was good. Shall we continue?
Yes. Maybe I should come up with chapter titles for the stories.
Hey, we could read then you can come up with the alternate name for the chapter.
Yeah, the last one could have been... What?
Chapter 66. Execute Order 66. Sorry.
No, it needs to be Execute Chapter 66.
4th year. February. James Potter was a much more complex person than he appeared at first glance. Outwardly, he was happy, self-assured, usually kind, if a bit arrogant, and generally popular with everybody. He got a lot of detentions, yes, but on the whole he got good marks, and most of the teachers were still quite fond of him. He made the most of being on the Quidditch team, messing up his hair deliberately so that he looked like he'd just finished flying, wearing his red robes at every opportunity. But no one could say that he hadn't earned the right. You only had to see him play to know that his big-headedness was not misplaced. Above all, James Potter was loved. His parents spoiled him and instilled in him the notion that there was nothing he couldn't do, that no door would ever be closed to him. Peter, Sirius, and Remus all looked up to him, appointing him leader in almost every venture, and, all in all, he was admired throughout the school by everyone who mattered, and envied by everyone else. Except for Lily Evans, of course. She was the thread that seemed to unravel everything else in James's life. Having grown up surrounded by love, freely given and carelessly accepted, James found it very troubling that someone he liked might not like him back. It was the reason he acted like an idiot whenever Lily was present, and the reason that he stopped talking to Remus for a week during the early spring of 1975. He wasn't being nasty or doing it deliberately. Remus knew James well enough to understand that. It was just that his feelings had been hurt, and, as someone who'd rarely experienced hurt feelings, wasn't sure how to handle it. At least Sirius blew up at you when you annoyed him, so it could be quickly solved. Peter would sulk, and Remus would probably just try to throw a punch. But James just went quiet. "He's not angry with you," Sirius explained when James went to bed one night as soon as Remus arrived in the common room. "He just feels sorry for himself." "He does believe me, though, doesn't he?" Remus asked anxiously. "I really didn't know it was a date. I don't like Lily in that way." "Well, I don't think he thinks you're lying exactly, but you're pretty close to Evans, aren't you? Always going round together." "She's my friend," Remus said, exasperated. "I go round with Marlene and Mary, too. No one thinks I'm going out with them." "Actually," Sirius smirked, "there was a rumour last term." "Oh, for God's sake!" It was impossible. As for Lily, she was being reliably mature about the whole thing. Remus assumed Marlene had filled her in on the situation, but she didn't press it, and they were able to continue as potions partners as normal. James and Sirius, however, had moved their workstation to the back of the room. By Friday dinner time, Remus was truly miserable. Unlike James, he'd not grown up surrounded by love, and he found that his friendship with the Marauders had become so important that he suffered deeply from the loss of it. He still sat with them for meals, but there was an uneasy quiet instead of their usual raucous banter. Sirius kept trying to turn the conversation toward the upcoming Gryffindor versus Slytherin match, but that only seemed to darken the mood. Making matters worse, Lily, Marlene, and Mary had sat themselves close to Remus. They were feeling sorry for him, and, being girls, were trying to cheer him up by doing exactly the wrong thing. "I'm looking forward to the match," Mary smiled cheerfully. "Of all the Hufflepuffs and Ravenclaws I've spoken to, they're all supporting Gryffindor too." Lily sighed heavily. "Why does it always have to be so black and white? No one's good overall or bad overall, not even Slytherins." "You can't blame us, Lily," Marlene replied. "Even if it's not all of them, most of the Slytherins have been utterly foul this year." "Speak of the devil," Mary lowered her voice suddenly, shooting a filthy look over Lily's shoulder. Lily and Remus turned round to see Severus Snape standing there, with an odd smile on his face that was anything but joyful. "Hello, Lily," he said softly. "Hi, Sev," Lily replied with a forced sort of politeness. "What's up?" "I just thought I'd check to see if you wanted any extra help with the potions assignment. It's very complex." "I know," she replied, irritated, "but I'm sure I'll manage." Bang! Everyone at the table jumped and spun round to stare at the end of the hall, where Mulciber had just let off a firecracker at the end of the Slytherin table. He was laughing heartily as the whole school looked on, terrified. 5 points from Slytherin!" McGonagall shouted, marching up the aisle between the tables. "And you'll clean this mess up at once!" Dinner returned to normal. Snape was still standing there. Lily looked up at him. "As I said, Remus and I'll manage," she said. "I'm not stupid, you know, Sev." "I never said you were." Snape looked genuinely upset by this. Oh, never mind." With that, he cast an unpleasant glance at Remus, then swept away, back to his own table. "Weirdo," Mary muttered. "Leave him alone," Lily snapped. She looked so fierce that Mary didn't even have a comeback. Have any of you had any luck with that Hinky Punk essay?" Marlene asked quickly, trying to keep the peace. "Mine's crap." "I'll lend you my notes if you want," Remus offered, taking a gulp of pumpkin juice. "Once Sirius gives them back." Sirius looked up, hearing his name spoken. "Oh, yeah, sorry, Moony, hang on. They're in my bag." He began digging through around the junkyard that was his book bag, pulling out scrunched up balls of parchment, dung bombs, sweets, and broken quills. "How do you find anything in there?" Remus sighed, sipping some more pumpkin juice. "You're the messiest person I've ever met." Sirius shrugged and winked at him, withdrawing the notes and handing them to Marlene. "Oh, Remus," Mary said, "did I tell you I had another letter from Darren this week?" Remus groaned. "Yes," he whined, "and it was just as boring as the last 500 letters you've made me read." Sirius snorted. Marlene dropped her fork. Mary looked horrified and opened or closed her mouth a few times. Remus frowned. Why on earth had he said that? Of course it was true, but it was horribly thoughtless and mean. "Sorry," he said, looking down. He felt strange. Maybe the James thing was getting to him even more than he thought. No, I'm sorry, Mary said, standing up, her lower lip trembling. I won't bother you any more then. She turned quickly and left the room, her plate of food half eaten. Mary! Marlene got up, running to follow her. Lily looked at Remus. Did you mean that? Yes, he said promptly. Actually, I find all this boyfriend-girlfriend stuff boring. I wish you'd all just leave me alone. Once he stopped talking, he blinked, surprised at himself. Why was he saying all these things? Remus, Lily said, looking shocked. Though made of sterner stuff than Mary, she didn't leave. There's nothing wrong with Mary wanting to talk about her boyfriend or teenagers having crushes. It's normal, isn't it? I don't care if it's normal, he shrugged. I think you're all acting like idiots. Even you. Why on earth would you want to go out with me, when the most popular boy in school is madly in love with you? He's 10 times nicer than me, too. You're just too arrogant to see it. Remus, Lily said again, turning red. Well, it's true, he said helplessly. Moony, Sirius said finally. Are you okay? I'm fine. Still a bit hungry, though. Think Mary will mind if I finish her potatoes? Seriously, Remus, James piped up unexpectedly. This isn't like you at all. I'm just being honest. Yeah, brutally. Oh, Merlin! Sirius slapped his forehead. Evans, did Snape put something in his drink? When the fireworks went off, maybe? He would never do something like that. It's illegal. Pfft, Remus snorted, mouthful of mashed potatoes. As if Snivelus gives a toss. He's been trying to get back at me ever since I hit him on the train. You what? Lily stared at him. Yeah, Remus swallowed. Nutted him right in the head. It was great. He knew there was definitely something wrong now. He couldn't seem to help it. The truth just kept spilling out of him. Right, Sirius stood up. Stop talking, Moony, before you say something you really regret. Those words dislodged a memory in Remus's mind. You know, he grinned, that's exactly what Snape said on the stairs the other day. Severus! Lily shouted at the top of her voice. She got up and stormed over to the Slytherin table, Sirius, James, Remus, and Peter in tow. What have you done to Remus? She demanded, stamping her foot angrily on the flagstone floor. Why do you ask? Snape smirked cruelly. You tell me how to fix him right now. There's nothing wrong with him, Severus replied calmly. Is there, Remus? Nothing really, Remus shrugged. I do keep saying things I shouldn't, though, like, shut up! Sirius kicked him hard in the shin, distracting Remus from spilling his guts to Snape. Sirius now rounded on the Slytherin boy. You bastard! It's Veritaserum, isn't it? Truth potion! Only one way to find out. Severus's smile broadened. What's your deepest, darkest secret, Lupin?
Uh-oh.
Oh God, where to start? Remus thought to himself. He knew he shouldn't say anything, mustn't say anything. He would be in terrible danger if anyone found out. But he wanted to. He wanted to very badly. He'd so many secrets, and they were all swimming to the surface of his mind like life buoys. Life buoys. I'm a werewolf. I'm planning to hunt down and murder Fenrir Greyback. I spent the whole summer stealing and drinking and fighting. I can't read properly without help. I'm secretly running an illegal trade in Muggle cigarettes. I don't fancy girls at all. Not any of them. I don't think I ever will. He opened his mouth. Well, I'm a... Silencio! Sirius shouted suddenly, aiming his wand at Remus while James tackled him to the floor, clamping a hand over his mouth. Everyone on the Slytherin table burst out laughing as James and Remus struggled together on the floor, Lily watching them completely nonplussed. Remus's mouth kept moving, desperate to divulge every one of his secrets until he was completely free of them, but not a sound escaped his lips. Sirius was excellent at silencing charms. Together, Peter, Sirius, and James hoisted Remus to his feet and dragged him bodily from the dining hall, amid a flurry of laughter and cheers from the Slytherins. Only once they were upstairs and shut inside their dorm room did Sirius lift the charm, allowing Remus to speak. By then, unfortunately, the urge to tell everyone everything had passed. Sorry, Remus, Sirius said, but I had to do it. You were going to... I know, Remus hung his head, sitting on his bed. Bloody Snape! How long does it take to wear off? Depends on how much you took, I think, James said, flicking through his new potions book. Godric, how did he do it? That's NEWT level stuff, truth serum. He's the best in the year at potions, Remus supplied unwillingly. Lily said he's already doing seventh year essays for fun. What a boring old swat, Sirius snorted, joining James in searching through the book. Try not to say anything, okay, Moony? I can't help it, Remus said without meaning to. Okay, right, it says here you should be clear within 24 hours, so dinner time tomorrow at the very least. What about lessons? We'll say you're sick. You can't risk it, Moony. I could kill Snape, that filthy, dirty, underhanded. I'm not missing any lessons for him, Remus folded his arms. There must be an antidote. We could go and ask Slughorn, James said finally. That's a good idea. I think he's still in the Great Hall. Sirius nodded. He turned to Remus and spoke very clearly and slowly, as if he were talking to a child. Remus, stay here. Bugger off! Remus turned away, pouting like a little boy. I'll stay with him, James said. You two go. Sirius needed no more than that, and he was bounding down the stairs, calling back. Hang in there, Moony. If I see a Slytherin on my way down, then I'll... But he didn't hear the rest. Sirius had gone, and Peter with him. There was a long, awkward silence. Remus didn't trust himself to speak. Finally, James did. Sorry I've been a prat lately. Remus was taken aback and shook his head furiously. You shouldn't have been. I just wish I could prove to you that I... Wait! Ask me! Eh? Ask me now, where I'm under truth serum. Ask me how I feel about Lily. You'll know it's the truth. Remus, I don't want to. James frowned. It didn't mesh with his idea of good sportsmanship. Go on, Remus encouraged. I really don't mind. It's between you and me, right? He got up and grabbed James by the shoulders, meeting his eyes with confidence. Ask me. Okay then. Remus, do you fancy Lily Evans? No, absolutely not. Remus didn't so much as blink. Okay, good. What about Marlene? Nope, never have, never will. They're my friends, like you are. James looked at him very intently, then his face broke into a genuine smile. He slapped Remus on the back. Thanks, Moony. You're a real mate. Remus laughed. Anytime.
Well, that worked out.
Right? Fortunately for Remus, Slughorn was able to provide an antidote almost immediately, though the Marauders' code of honor prevented them from telling him who'd laced Remus's drink in the first place. It's better this way, Remus reassured them. It'll make him really nervous if he doesn't get in trouble straight away. He'll wonder how we're going to get back at him. How are we going to get him back? Sirius asked eagerly over breakfast on the morning of the Slytherin versus Gryffindor game. He nearly outed you, Moony. We have to teach him a lesson. Let me think about it, Remus replied. Just thrash Slytherin at Quidditch for me first. Easy, Sirius winked. Remus grinned back. It was hard not to grin at Sirius when he was in such a good mood, resplendent in his scarlet and gold Quidditch robes, hair pulled off his face, eyes sharp and full of determination. It was the best version of Sirius, and Remus's heart pounded with pride and adrenaline.
Right.
Right. The tension was palpable in the Quidditch stands before the players had even appeared on the pitch. 2/4 of the stadium were covered in red, jeering and booing at the green section. Quidditch had become a way for the students of Hogwarts to show their emotions about the war, and it was extremely ugly. Tensions are high in this year's semi-final, the commentator, Tracy Darcy, spoke through a magical megaphone. This match will of course determine which team goes through to the final against Ravenclaw, and by the looks of the players, it'll be a close one. On Gryffindor, we have Potter, of course, a legend in his own right, with more than 200 goals under his belt already. Marlene McKinnon here, a formidable beater, and so she should be. Her brother Danny McKinnon, of course, plays professionally for the Chudley Canines. And there's Sirius Black, Gryffindor's second beater, in his second game of the year. Black has already shown himself to be as competent as McKinnon, and I'm sure all the ladies will agree doesn't look half bad in his kit. Ahem! McGonagall's disapproving cough could be heard over the megaphone. Remus noticed that almost every girl in the crowd was either giggling or screaming Sirius's name. "Sorry, Professor," Tracy continued. "And here comes Slytherin!" Deafening booing from the crowd here. "They have their very own black on the team, of course. Sirius's younger brother Regulus, Seeker, and Mulciber taken on as Beta this term." The boos grew so loud now that Remus could barely hear Darcy over the noise. Peter wasn't helping and kept jumping up and down in his seat. Remus was staying seated as long as he could. His hip was causing him problems again, and he didn't want to exacerbate it. Limpy Lupin was worse than Loony Lupin somehow. Finally, the game began, and both the teams shot into the air with incredible force. If the crowd was mean, the players were even worse. With the weight of their houses on their shoulders, it felt like a matter of life or death. Remus had never seen James play so hard, rocketing up and down the pitch like a red bullet, catching and throwing the quaffle faster than the Slytherin keeper could keep track of. Sirius and Marlene were equally fearsome, both working as much more of a team than they had last time, clearly communicating and watching the backs of their fellow teammates. And they really needed to. Slytherin was playing dirty. Twice Sirius had to fend off a bludger that had accidentally flown right into James's path, while Marlene became the Gryffindor Seeker's shadow, protecting him from some very nasty near misses. Remus was so busy watching his three friends, wincing when they came close to danger, cheering their victories, that he'd quite forgotten the aim of the game. So had everyone else, it seemed, except for Regulus Black, who flew high above the pitch and then around the outskirts, showing that infamous Slytherin cunning as he sought out the snitch. No one was watching as Regulus Black, the smaller Slytherin team member, caught sight of the tiny golden ball and began to soar down toward it from incredible heights. No one was watching Regulus Black because they were all watching Sirius swing his bat as a bludger that would have swinging his bat at a bludger that would have easily knocked him off his broom. He hit it back so hard that it shot straight back toward Mulciber's face. Mulciber, though stupid, was not slow and swooped down immediately, ducking out of the way, just as Regulus passed him. Now Remus saw him. Now everyone did, and a terrible shriek went up as the bludger connected with Regulus's head and knocked him from his broom. They watched in such horror that all house prejudice were forgotten as the limp body of Regulus Black plummeted to the ground.
Oh no. I would say this is kind of like what happened to Harry, but that doesn't happen to Harry until... No, it is third year. Right? When he falls and his nimbus gets torn up by the Whomping Willow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so it is kind of like that.
Dumbledore catches him, though.
Hi, Finn.
Oh, yes,
Anyway,
hello.
Dumbledore catches him.
It does. Katie's like, it reminds me of Liar Liar.
Oh my god, it does. Yes.
It had a very Liar
His
Liar.
pen is royal blue. God,
Right?
I love that movie.
That movie was great.
Carrey's great.
Snape.
Snape is the...
Snape got skills.
Apparently, with potions.
Brewing Veritaserum in 4th year.
Him and Veritaserum, man.
He's got skills.
Yeah, we'll see where those skills get him.
Pretty far.
Not really.
Pretty far, given the big low that he ends up in. Does okay. I mean, he doesn't end up as Slughorn.
No.
As well off as Slughorn, or, you know.
He ends up being the middleman of these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The double agent.
Yeah, he doesn't make it very far. That's pretty...
It's a heroic thing to do.
No.
Yeah. We're not going there.
Okay.
Point is,
time for a Snape debate.
No Snape debate today. I'm feeling too yucky. The booster's finally really getting to me.
Fair enough. But yeah.
I feel like I could take a nap right now. Again.
And
I'm achy everywhere.
I guess really Severus kind of helped the Marauders out with this. Because now James knows that Lupin is
really does not.
100%
Yeah, he really does not like Lily in that way.
So there you go. You got lucky. The one person Lily likes more than James.
I also thought it was funny that Remus just straight up told her, like, the most popular dude in school really, really likes you, and you're being a bit arrogant and not giving him a chance.
Yeah, maybe this is the reason why Lily starts to give
Pay
him a chance.
pay a little more attention. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Severus just like shot himself in the foot in so many ways with the Veritaserum.
I mean, she doesn't really give him a chance though until 5th year, because she still
But
calls him
this-
arrogant and stuff in 5th year.
Well, yeah, but this might be planting the seed.
Oh yeah,
She's kind of like, well,
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the whole thing about Snape. It's always his choices.
yeah,
The thing about Harry Potter, it's all about your choices. Snape, consistently makes bad ones.
yeah.
He just never makes the right decision or the good decision.
And yeah, it's something about the booster. I don't know, because I got the original vaccine. I was fine. Didn't bother me.
Yeah, same.
My arm was really sore with the original for some reason, but other than that, didn't bother me at all. And then I got the booster, and the next day I was out.
Yeah, I remember when Katie told me she got hers, and she was just like, I felt terrible the next day. And I'm like, I'm starting to feel terrible. I was good all morning. I had enough mojo to like go do what I had to do, make the cheesecake, do all this stuff. And then I was like, after I made the cheesecake and everything else, I'm like slowly just starting to go, oh dear. Oh God.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I was the opposite. I woke up and I just
I'm like, maybe I need to take a nap before Noelle comes to brace myself a little bit. I laid on the bed or the couch for like 30 minutes, half watching Jurassic Park 3 like a zombie. I had to see the Spinosaurus.
Oh yeah, you have to. Ooh, 3 days? I was only sick for one. Except
Yeah, she told me she was like sick the next day, and it took her like a couple days to recover. And I just remember going, "Oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry."
I feel like I have a very good immune system because I'm never sick longer than 24 hours. Even when I've had like the worst, like flu-like symptoms, it's only like a 24-hour. I remember the one time when Ramona was a baby, and you went to work, and I had to stay home with her because no one else could watch her, and I felt like total garbage. And like the whole day, like Ramona was really young. She was playing on the floor. I was basically just laying on the floor like dead, just making sure she didn't swallow anything or go anywhere she wasn't supposed to.
Right.
And then did that all day. You come home and I like lay down and I take a 30-minute nap and I'm fine.
Usually when I get sick, I don't get sick very often, and then like when I get sick, I get sick. The last time I was sick, everything out of both ends, all day long, nonstop.
I don't remember that, and maybe it's just that terrible that I.
You went to work.
Oh, okay.
It was during the work week. I stayed home, and I laid on the couch all day and watched the Nazi Hunter show with Al Pacino. I watched like the whole thing, like passing in and out of sleep and getting up every like 20 minutes to go to the bathroom. Oh, it was the worst. Felt like food poisoning.
See, I would have fought through that to go to Barcelona.
I would have been like, I am going
okay
to see the Gaudi. I'm going.
Just like down a whole bottle of Pepto-Bismol, Dayquil, and just all right.
Gatorade all day, Pedialyte.
Just an IV of Pedialyte.
Yeah, right. I don't care if I throw them up after. I am eating these churros now.
If I'm gonna be bedridden, I'm gonna be.
I don't care how the paella makes me feel. I am eating that shrimp and mussels. I'm eating that.
No, I still wouldn't do that. No, screw that. No. I would make sure I would go. I'd just fake it until I got
The flu sucks. I had the flu once when I was a kid. I didn't have it at 18. I had it when I was like 11 or something. Oh my god, it was horrible. I don't wish it on anyone. Flu sucks. I was in bed for like a week and a half, something like that. Fever, aches, chills, just all of it was awful.
See, that's why I think.
And I'm sitting
am,
here
like
like right
really
now
good
going,
immune
"Oh."
system, because I had the flu once, but it was only for like 2 days. It's like the longest sickness I've ever had.
Then you didn't
Maybe
have
I
the
did.
flu.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh
Oh.
no, that's terrible. That's a
That's-
an all the young dudes kind of situation. That's such a bummer.
She pulled a Lupin.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's always that. Not only couldn't you not go to Spain, but your friend stole the dude you liked. Not right. I thought I saw Bobans back there, but it was just the Spinosaurus. Out of the corner of my eye. Oh, Rixie's got stuff marks on her face. What happened to her? She got beat up a little bit. Oh my god. Alright, anyway. Should we try to read the next chapter?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you did not have the flu.
I don't know. I mean, whatever I had, it was bad.
It doesn't mean it's the flu. Could have been some viral yuck. The flu is terrible. You don't get better in like 2 days. You're at least sick for like a week.
Oh.
When you have the flu.
That's another thing. So since I was a kid and my mom,
And I know that because I've
taking me-
only had the flu once. And the other things I've had where I've been sick for like 2 days, I'll be sick for 2 days and be fine. I know I had the flu because I felt like I was going to die for like a week and a half.
Fun fact about me, I've never had the flu vaccine after my mom stopped, after I had a choice to, after my mom stopped.
I've never had it.
I was like 5 or something.
I've never had the flu.
I'm not
vaccine.
I'm not like promoting anti-vax here. I do get vaccines. I'm vaccinated against COVID.
Right.
I don't know. At this point I'm just like, well, I never got, why mess with a good thing?
I've never gotten it. Not even because I don't want to. It's just I don't know. I always like, oh, I get the flu shot.
It's like I've never gotten
And
the
then
flu, so I'm just like, why do I take
maybe
time
if
out
you
of my day?
maybe if you get the flu, and then you'll decide you want to get the flu
Yeah.
shot because you've never
Once
had
I
the
get
flu.
the flu, then I'll be like, oh no, not this again.
That drives me nuts too. When people have a runny nose and they say they have the flu, Katie's like, no, you don't have the flu.
Are you sure you guys didn't have like?
If we had mono, we would have been out of school for like a month. Mono keeps you out of school for like a month. No, the flu it's awful. I don't wish the flu on anyone. It sucks. Or people say like, "Oh, I had the 24-hour flu." You didn't have the flu if it was a 24-hour thing. You had some gross virus. I got the flu shots. Yeah, Ramona's had it. Like we've given it to Ramona. She hasn't had it this year just because we're trying to we got her vaccinated and we got to wait and all that stuff, but yeah, it was one time. And I had a fever that was so intense that I hallucinated. It was just terrible. The flu is horrible. So then when people talk about COVID and it's like flu-like symptoms, like, no, I don't want COVID. It sounds awful if it's like the flu. Not only do you have the flu, but you can't breathe. That sounds terrible. Having had the flu, no thank you. At all. I'm good.
I wonder if there's any magical diseases that only like witches and wizards get.
Dragonpox.
Dragonpox?
That's one mentioned in the books. Dragonpox. Which is, I'm pretty sure, what Mr. and Mrs. Potter got, actually.
Oh, yeah. I wonder why they call it dragon. Does it like burn or something? I don't know. That would be my assumption. It's like chicken pox, but they like burn.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't ever talk about it.
So it's kind of like shingles.
They don't ever talk about like what it's like. They just mention it. But yeah, I wonder, or maybe they're like scaly spots, like dragon scaly.
Maybe.
But yeah, maybe it is because it burns like dragon fire. I don't know. I thought so. Yeah, James's parents catch it and they died. That's how they died.
Oh, okay.
Thought so. They were old.
Yeah.
So.
Wonder if there's like an equivalent to the flu. The magic flu.
Magical flu? Probably. There's probably something. Yeah, the weak muscle thing, Katie. When I had it, it literally took everything I had just to get out of bed, walk down the hall to use the bathroom, and come back. I was like so exhausted just from walking to go use the bathroom.
If there's
My body hurt so bad.
People. They're magical everything. Is there magical influenza, you know?
Probably. Because we've talked about the magical medicine versus the muggle medicine thing.
Yeah.
So they've got, well, dragonpox as an example, but, you know, like Fred and George come up with like the puking pastils and all that stuff. So there's got to be like magical illnesses like muggle ones.
Yeah.
We just don't hear about them. But there's got to be.
So what do you think is going to happen in this next chapter?
It's called February Part 2. So I think we're going to find out what happened to Regulus.
Well, yeah.
And then after that, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we know he doesn't die. Spoilers, everyone. Regulus doesn't die. Yet.
I'm sorry, everyone. It just feels better to stretch because sitting in this position is like making me more achy.
Pepper up potion?
Yes, yes, they do. The pepper up potion. They talk about that.
Oh.
I forget which book it is, but the pepper up potion is mentioned. It's just like gets you back to your blah 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 self. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So it's like cocaine.
Could be. I don't know. Maybe there's.
Oh, you feeling down? Take some of this. Oh, I have all this energy again.
Chapter 67, 4th year, February Part 2. Notes. Warning for really unpleasant parent-child interaction. Note. Yes, I know I have been spelling Walpurga with a P instead of a B. That is how it will have to stay.
Okay.
Apparently some people have been complaining about that. Remus almost missed what happened because everyone in the crowd immediately stood up, jostling to see the disaster unfold. Fortunately, when Remus stood up, he was a great deal taller than those around him. Sirius tried. No one could deny that. The moment he saw the bludger hit Regulus, he bent flat on his broom and shot forward as if the devil were at his heels, faster than Remus had ever seen anyone, even James, fly. In fact, Sirius gathered at such a speed and at such a terrifying vertical angle that Remus felt sure he was going to crash to the ground too, and his stomach lurched with fear. Sirius was too late, but Madame Hooch was not. She stood on the grass, wand raised, and managed to slow Regulus's descent so that his body appeared to be falling through water, not air. By the time Sirius hit the ground, dropping his broom and pelting toward his brother, Regulus was lying so peacefully he could have been sleeping. Sirius was on his knees, the rest of the team were landing round him, McGonagall was shouting something over the megaphone, and a crowd quickly surrounded the two Black brothers so that no one could see anything. Remus began to hobble down the wooden steps as quickly as his wonky hip would allow. Peter scurried along behind him. "Where are you going?" he panted. "Sirius," was all Remus could think to say. But once they reached ground level, they couldn't get onto the pitch. The heads of houses were shepherding students back to the castle and wouldn't let them pass. "They must have taken Regulus to the hospital wing," Peter said. "Maybe Sirius is in the changing rooms?" "No," Remus shook his head. "No, he'd probably want to go with Reg. He probably thinks it's all his fault." "Well," Peter looked up at him. "He did hit the bludger, didn't he?" Remus clenched his fists and fought the urge to hit Peter. "I'm going to the hospital wing, then." He turned and began to stride awkwardly toward the castle, trying to get ahead of everyone. "What about James?" Peter had to jog to keep up. "He'll be there too," Remus replied. And of course he was. When Peter and Remus arrived outside the hospital wing, having battled their way through the throngs of gossiping students, they found James sitting on the floor outside, elbows resting on his knees, staring into space. He was still in his Quidditch robes, his cheeks were still flushed from flying, and his hair was a mess. "Is he okay?" Remus asked at once, and he wasn't sure who he meant. "Yeah, I think so." James looked up at them in dazed surprise. "Knocked out cold, though. Pomfrey won't let me in." Sirius? Yeah, he's in there. Thought I'd better wait. Slughorn's contacting their parents, so... He shrugged. Thought I'd better be here. We're all here, Remus said firmly, sitting down next to James with some difficulty. His hip was really sore now. The pain shot all the way down from pelvis to ankle. Peter actually squatted down too, and they waited. Did you see what happened? James asked finally. I was on the other end of the pitch. I didn't... A bludger, Remus said. Mulciber hit one right at Sirius. It had to be a foul. Sirius hit it back at him, but Mulciber got out of the way, and Regulus was right behind him. Sirius couldn't have seen him. It was an accident. It was horrible. Shit, James said. They were quiet for a bit longer. It was starting to grow dark, and the candles on the sconces along the wall began to light themselves. Remus wondered what Peter and James were thinking. Were they more worried about Sirius than Regulus, like he was? He felt a bit guilty, but Madame Pomfrey had been putting him back together since he was 11 years old, and he didn't think that a bludger to the head was beyond her abilities. What concerned him more was the state Sirius would be in. He had thrown hexes at Regulus 100 times, but he had never ever hurt his little brother intentionally. This hadn't been intentional either, but Remus knew in his gut that Sirius wouldn't see it that way. They were disturbed from their thoughts by the quick clacking of high heels on flagstones and Professor McGonagall's worried voice coming round the corner. Please, Walpurga. He couldn't be in safer hands with Madame Pomfrey. It really is best he isn't moved. I think I shall be making the decisions here, Minerva, the cold, low voice replied. James and Peter leapt up nervously, and James bent to help Remus to his feet. None of them had seen Sirius's mother since that awful Christmas 2 years ago, and their terror of her was still fresh. McGonagall and Mrs. Black came charging round the corner, Walpurga in her thick black travelling cloak and sharp high-heeled boots. She had the same look of cruel superiority Remus remembered, but her forehead was creased too, and her hair wasn't as neat as usual. She was accompanied by a small elderly wizard with a long trailing beard carrying a heavy-looking dragon-skin case. Walpurga glanced at the 3 boys waiting outside the hospital wing, and Remus held his breath. But she didn't think it worth her time and strode past, pushing the wooden doors open with both hands and marching inside. Remus, James and Peter peered in from the hallway to watch the scene unfold. McGonagall and the bearded wizard hurried in after Mrs. Black. Regulus was lying in bed, and from what they could tell, was still unconscious, or maybe just sleeping. With his eyes closed and at a distance, he looked remarkably like Sirius, which made Remus's stomach lurch again. But Sirius was sitting beside him, wide awake in his red Gryffindor robes, one foot propped up on a stool. He looked very pale and much smaller than usual. His eyes were red. He seemed to shrink even further as his mother approached, swooping toward her sons like some terrible vampire bat. Madame Pomfrey stepped in just then. He's quite all right, just a heavy shock, she said reassuringly. I've given him a healing draught and mended the fractures. Fractures? Walpurga said sharply. She stood at the end of Regulus's bed, looking down at him. She didn't try to reach out for him, or Sirius, but stood as still as a statue. Very minor and completely healed now, Madame Pomfrey said. He'll be up and about tomorrow morning. Now, Sirius has... This is our family physician, Walpurga interrupted, extending a hand to introduce the wizened old man beside her. He will be taking over my son's care. I'm taking him home as soon as he has been thoroughly examined. I'm telling you, everything that can be done has been done, Madame Pomfrey said, sounding rather angry now. Walpurga looked down at her impatiently. Within your competence, I'm sure, but he is my son, and I will care for him as I see fit. Madame Pomfrey turned red in the face and appeared to be quite speechless, so that McGonagall had to lean over and whisper something in her ear to mollify her. The old bearded wizard placed his case on the bedside table and opened it, before silently bending over Regulus. Meanwhile, Walpurga had turned her attention to her elder son. She did not move She did not move from the end of the bed, but her hawkish glare was enough to hold Sirius in place. You, she said. What are you doing here? Sirius said something, but it came out barely above a whisper. Walpurga frowned. What? She barked. Speak up, boy! He's my brother, Sirius Sirius said, louder now, though his voice was hoarse and cracked slightly. Mrs. Black tutted. For goodness sake, have you been crying? Try to show at least a modicum of decorum. Toujours pour, Sirius. Try to remember your duty. Sirius didn't reply but bowed his head, his hair falling in front of his face. Remus hoped for his sake he hadn't begun to cry again. Walpurga continued. You may leave, Sirius. Your father and I will see you in June. With that, she turned back to Regulus and did not acknowledge Sirius again. James started forward, unable to watch any longer, but Remus held back with Peter. It didn't feel like his place somehow. He didn't have the right, and though Remus wished more than anything he knew what to do, James was always so much better with Sirius. McGonagall had apparently seen James and acted very quickly, placing a hand on Sirius's shoulder and gently guiding him out of his chair and toward the doorway. He was limping slightly. Madame Pomfrey joined them halfway and handed Sirius a draught too. Straight up to bed and drink every drop, you hear me? You shouldn't be in too much pain, but it'll be uncomfortable tonight. Sirius nodded warily, not speaking. James clapped him on the shoulder and squeezed, then nodded to McGonagall. She looked very much like she wanted to say something, but held her tongue, only glancing back at Regulus and Mrs. Black. She would keep an eye on the situation, Remus was sure. She would let Sirius know if anything happened. The four Marauders walked most of the way to Gryffindor Tower together in dead silence until they came to a dual staircase, and Peter said suddenly, We've missed dinner. James and Remus glared at him, and he looked very hurt. What I meant, he squeaked angrily, was that I'll go down to the kitchens now and get them to send something up, if that's okay with you two. Nice one, Pete, James said apologetically. Remus just ducked his head, looking away. Peter turned tail and headed downstairs, while the other three kept going upstairs. It was slow progress, considering two of them had pronounced limps. Right state we must look, Sirius muttered humorously as they paused on one of the landings for a breather. What's wrong with you anyway? Remus finally asked, rubbing his aching hip. Broke my ankle, Sirius said. Landed too hard on it. James winced. Sirius shrugged. Can't feel it, just a bit wobbly. When they finally reached their bedroom, Sirius locked himself inside the bathroom to shower and change. Peter shortly reappeared, laden with sandwiches, fruit, chocolate, cakes, and anything else he could carry. Bunch of girls down there want to see Sirius, he huffed, dumping everything onto his bed. There's a gang of second years all wanting him, making him get well cards. Told him to bugger off. Thanks, Pete, James said. You're a good mate. Peter smiled, finally. He nodded at the closed bathroom door. He okay? He will be, James sighed, stripping off his Quidditch robes, leaving them in a pile on the floor. In just his vest and underwear, he grabbed a chicken sandwich from Peter's bed and bit into it hungrily. Peter and Remus took this as permission and followed suit. Sirius was in the bathroom for a long time, and they thought it best to just leave him to it. James changed into his usual clothes and began tidying Sirius's eternally messy bed. Remus helped, collecting up the scattered books and half-finished essays. He would finish them, Remus decided. He would do all of Sirius's homework for the entire week, if it helped at all. I fucking hate his family, James said suddenly as he shook out one of Sirius's pillows. His mum's worse than mine, Peter sniffed. Remus began to sort through Sirius's notes, smoothing out the parchments and trying to make sense of what was due when. The bathroom door opened and Sirius emerged in his pajamas, his hair wet and combed. You hungry, mate? Peter asked nervously, offering a plate of sandwiches. Sirius shook his head and walked toward his bed. Just gonna go to sleep, he muttered, pulling the curtains across. Sirius! Remus burst out before he suddenly disappeared from view. Sirius stopped, staring at him through the gap in the hanging. Remus chewed his lip. It wasn't your fault, he said. I was watching. It was an accident. You were both just so focused on the game, that's all. Sirius looked at him, his face soft after the shower, his eyes tired and dark. He smiled gently and shrugged. Still did it. Then drew the curtains tight shut. The Quidditch game was declared incomplete, and both teams agreed to a rematch once the Slytherins had found another seeker. The next morning at breakfast, the Slytherin captain received a howler from Walpurga Black, accusing him of putting her son in danger. Regulus was not present, and rumours abounded, but McGonagall had privately told Sirius that all was well. Mrs. Black simply wished to keep Regulus at home for a further week as a precaution. Sirius carried on about his day, but the light in him had dimmed. He didn't hex anyone, make jokes, or even talk out of turn in his lessons. He simply pushed through as if sleepwalking. Remus had started to wonder whether it was still the shock of the accident or the anxiety of having to face his mother inside Hogwarts. That night was the full moon, so Remus could be of little help to Sirius. Actually, he was a little bit glad to have the excuse to get away from the dorm room, which had become a dismal, quiet place when Sirius was in his mood. Remus wasn't the only one. Peter kept slipping away to visit Desdemona. Perhaps it was all of the quiet, all of the unsaid things and unresolved tension, but February's moon was a bad one. Remus awoke with his throat burnt raw from howling, splinters under his fingernails, and bruises all over. Lately, he'd noticed, the older he got, the more he was able to remember after the transformations. It still wasn't very clear, like remembering a dream, images and feelings swimming in and out of sight, but this time Remus thought that maybe the wolf had wanted something. Maybe it had wanted to get out more than usual. He lay in the hospital bed trying to remember, feverish and headachy, too uncomfortable to sleep, sheets twisted round his ankles like manacles. "Morning, Moony." A soft, sad voice spoke to him. He had to rub his eyes and blink a few times before he even realized it was Sirius. Morning," he slurred, groggy from whatever painkiller he'd been supplied. It always made his accent slip, which he hated. "What are you doing here?" Sirius sat on the end of the bed and stuck out his foot. "Check up on my ankle. It's fine now." "Oh, good," Remus nodded, trying to pull himself up into a sitting position and failing miserably. "How was it?" Sirius asked, gesturing broadly at Remus's body. "Fine," Remus replied. "Normal. James here too?" "Nah." Sirius looked down at his shoes. "Giving him a break from me." "I don't think he minds." "I do, though." Remus nodded. He didn't like being fussed over either. "Moony?" "Yeah. You know how you said it wasn't my fault?" "It wasn't your fault," Remus said firmly. A little bit too firmly. He felt the muscles in his throat strain and contract, and he began to cough. Sirius hopped off the bed and grabbed the glass of water from the nightstand, handing it to Remus. Remus gulped it down, embarrassed, spilling a little down his throat. "I didn't hit him on purpose, you're right," Sirius said, looking out the window over Remus's head, squinting, slightly as if he were looking for something out there. "But when I saw him fall like that, I thought, don't let him die." "Well, of course," Remus frowned. He wished Sirius would meet his eye. "He's your brother. Of course you wouldn't want him to—" "I wasn't thinking about him, though," Sirius said. "I was thinking about me. I was thinking, if he dies, then I'll be the only one left and my parents will— I wouldn't have any way out. I need Regulus to stay alive. I need him to be the perfect son, so it doesn't matter that I'm the bad son. That's what I was thinking. I'm a coward." Remus didn't know what to say, but he had to say something. "You'd have still been sorry if he died, though, not just because of that." "Yeah, but my first thought— People don't think properly when they're scared. Believe me," Remus said, hoping he sounded authoritative. "I saw you. You risked your life to try and save him. That's not cowardly. Broke your stupid ankle like the idiotic hard-headed Gryffindor you are." Sirius exhaled, strained a little laugh. He looked at his feet again, then at Remus. Remus smiled at him encouragingly, even though his jaw ached. "Greg gonna be okay?" "Yeah, fine. Owled me this morning, being waited on hand and foot, it sounds like. Mother tried to get me kicked off the team, too, but he stopped her." "There you go, then," Remus smirked. "You're still the bad son." Sirius laughed.
That's pretty dark. Wow. I hope you stay alive just so you can distract our parents. Not to mention, Okay, I kind of agree though, because his parents are awful. Well, his mother at least. Never really get to see anything about Sirius's father.
No. And all we ever get in the books is just Sirius talking about how much he hated them.
Yeah. I wonder why his father was never mentioned. Like, why don't they talk about his father?
In this story?
Yeah.
I think because the
Or, well, I guess either or.
I think because the mom is like the larger than life character. I feel like she controls everything, and
Maybe even his father.
yeah, like I feel like the
There's
dad
a
is
reason why the dad didn't have his own portrait in the manor.
yeah. I think she owns everything in that house.
Or maybe he had in the will to have his portrait torn down. I'm not spending eternity listening to this woman screeching about mudbloods and filth.
I mean, Creature never talks about Mr. Black.
That's true.
Never mentions him.
I don't know. Maybe he just was like never there.
I gotta blow my nose.
Okay.
Hang on. It's like oh, fucking up.
The booster is just really hitting you hard now. Oof. Well, I mean, too bad we didn't have a Madame Pumphrey who could just heal your broken ankle like that. Just realize I can't. There it goes. I have so much trouble snapping with my left hand. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
See, I don't know. It was basically this chapter was look at how awful Sirius's parents are.
In case you needed a reminder.
And we did get to see that Regulus does like Sirius. He loves his big brother.
He does.
Don't kick him off the team, Mama. It's okay.
It was accident. I think Regulus loves his brother, and Sirius just can't find it in him to be a good big brother to him.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But the dynamic is very difficult. It's a messed up situation that they got going on.
Yeah. I feel like they could love each other if the mother would just leave them alone.
Yeah.
If Regulus didn't have their mother like always hovering over him, coming in like the package deal, Sirius might grow to like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. She is definitely a control freak.
Orion just
Like
stays
set
as
my
far
goal.
away as he can
Yeah.
all the time. He just sits in his study and
Just whatever you say, honey. All right, I'm gonna go in my study.
yep, you got the boys. Okay, sounds good. I'm not doing
I've
it.
got Voldemort needs me. Gotta go.
I mean, what does Creature say? Mudbloods and half-breeds defiling the house of my mistress. It's terrible. Creature
Yeah.
doesn't like this. Creature.
House of his mistress, not Mister.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep,
he's
that's
just
it.
the name and money.
And she sunk her claws into that.
Yep.
That was the end of it.
So she's a gold digger. Sirius is.
Aren't they cousins? They're like cousins,
Yeah,
aren't they?
something like that. All of those families are related.
I know. I can't remember what the connection is between Walpurga. Was she a black too, or was she something else? I don't remember.
I don't.
From
remember.
the Sacred 28.
Either way, yeah, she's a gold digger.
Yeah. Yep.
She saw that money of the blacks and was like, "How you doing?"
Yep. Of all those families, I'm trying to think which one would be the least awful to marry into, and I got
The Weasleys.
Well, yeah, that's true. I always forget about the Weasleys. I always forget about the
Weasleys, hands down.
I don't think about that when I think about the Sacred 28, though. I don't know, because they're not into that thing.
They're Weasleys.
Yeah. The Weasleys. The long bottoms probably would be all right.
Long bottoms, yeah, that'd be all right.
Not the Crouches.
Wait, they would have to have the same name because if Sirius's name is Black, I'm assuming they took the father's name,
Right.
and Walburga is. How is she related to Narcissa and stuff?
Narcissa is Sirius's cousin.
Yeah, is
So-
Narcissa because it's Narcissa Black, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how is she related on the father or mother side? I thought it was the mother side.
Narcissa?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. My brain is
We'd have
getting.
to take a look at the tree, but I could have sworn it was on Sirius's mother's side that Narcissa.
I mean, their last name is Black, so I
And
would
yeah.
think it would be on the father's side. The father
yeah,
might have
but-
had a sister or something, or another brother.
But like Katie said, it could be that they had the same name, kind of like what we're getting.
Could
at,
be,
like-
yeah. Maybe they do
So-
have the same last name. Maybe they're that
Yeah.
closely related.
But
I feel like
I
they
just
could be.
thought if you remembered, we could come up with a definitive answer, whether or not. No.
Not right now.
Yeah, fair enough. You don't look too good.
I'm sorry. Yeah, need to check the family tree. I
Yeah.
know, gotta look at the tree again.
Bring up the movie and we'll just zoom in and go through.
Go look at the tree.
It's her scratching up there.
I know. I'm looking. She's.
Oh, thank you, Katie.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
Bible bonds.
She's gonna check out the family tree.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Look at.
What?
The drama. Potential drama about to unfold.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, they're
okay.
fine.
Well,
I didn't even notice Lola's here.
mm-hmm.
See, I can't remember. My
In the
head's like in
basket.
the way. Yeah, she's in the
Sorry.
basket.
I got distracted by the kitties. I'm sorry.
You're good. So, what do you think's gonna happen in the next chapter?
What's the name of the next chapter? March.
March. St. Patrick's Day. Is a little luck gonna happen?
I think Sirius and Remus are gonna drink and smoke.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah,
Do you think?
because there's a content warning for drinking and smoking.
Oh, okay. So Remus and Sirius are just gonna get totally wasted
Yeah. Why
over
not?
everything.
Yeah. Why not?
All right. So I guess the question is, do you feel up to reading another one, or
I
you,
don't
you
know.
look kind of bad because Whisper's kicking your butt, or should we just hang out for a little bit longer? Whatever we call it. Because it's up to you.
I don't know if I can make it. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard to read the last one. I kept stumbling over the words pretty bad.
I thought you did fine, but
It was hurting
Okay.
my eyes. I'm sorry.
I mean, we only have like 20 more minutes to go, so
That's fair. Oh goodness.
can discuss a little bit more and then call a little bit early. You're not feeling too hot today. It happens.
I need to lay down and get my second wind. I think I
Alright.
just need a nap is my issue. I think I'll be all right if I can lay down for a little bit. Wow. Yeah. I literally just feel myself progressively just ooh. Anyway. And what's the next chapter? What's the number? We are officially more than halfway through the story.
Yeah, I thought we hit the halfway point like a couple streams ago.
66 was the halfway point.
Yeah.
Chapter 66.
So what are we at?
Next chapter 68.
Wait, I thought it was 188 chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Is it 188 or is it 180? Oh god, I don't remember.
either way,
sorry.
we wouldn't be at the halfway point. with 60 chapters done.
No. Yeah, 188. So 60.
94
Oh,
would be the halfway
yeah.
point.
I don't know why I'm thinking. I don't know.
We're 2/3 of the way
Yeah, yeah. My bad, guys. I can't do math right now either. I can't do anything. I am a failure right now. I apologize.
through. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Getting your microchip will do that too.
Yeah, so Bill Gates can read my mind.
My service has never been better though. 5G, beautiful.
Has it turned you gay? Like the frogs?
I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, lots of chapters.
Yeah, it's a full-length book. We did it. It's actually as long as the entire Harry Potter series.
Pretty much, yeah.
It has as many chapters, or I think it might have more.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we looked at it one time.
Yeah, we did the math in one of the videos, but it's at least.
I didn't think so, Katie. I didn't think so. I just remember Sirius talking about Andromeda, Narcissa, and Bellatrix being his cousins.
Yeah.
And they were all named Black. But I don't. Oh, that's so bright. Oh my god.
The one thing I don't have the dark theme on.
Oh, here we go. The tree.
Yeah,
the family tree.
see if we can-
Looks like the Targaryen tree. Oh god.
All right, Regulus, Sirius, Orion, Black. So yeah, they both have the same name.
Because they
And-
are the
They-
children of
two blacks.
of
So yeah, both of their names are Black.
Yep. Because a Black married a crab and then had Alfard, Walburga, and Cygnus. And
Which
then
they mention, I'm pretty sure. Cygnus. I think Slughorn mentions him.
I know they mention Arcturus Black
Yeah.
at one point.
Alfard Black.
Yeah.
That sounds.
Septimus. Wait. Okay. I wasn't done.
Okay, sorry. There you go. Wait, that's the wrong one. This is the one I was on.
So
Sorry.
jeez. I'm trying to read. So Walburga.
There we go. That's all I was trying to do.
Oh my god. So Walburga and Cygnus are brother and sister. Cygnus married Druella Rosier and had Bellatrix, Andromeda, and Narcissa.
Yep. So Walburga and Orion both have the same last name.
Oh, there's a Weasley on this tree. Septimus Weasley. Septimus Weasley. Jesus, what a name. Oh, there's a Potter in there. Also, what does this mean? Rose Potter, Sirius Black.
Sirius Black, Rose Potter. It's probably like a cursed child thing.
This
For
map,
child canon?
this family tree is not canon.
Rose Pot. I don't know. Hera Montague. Oh, the Blacks are descended from the Montagues.
Isn't Montague? Montague's the kid that gets stuck in the vanishing cabinet by Fred and George.
Yeah.
Ursula Flint. There's a Sirius. There's another Sirius.
Alexia.
Does that say
yeah, so-
Jimbo?
What? Yeah, that's Jimbo. Jimbo Blistwick.
Jimbo Blistwick. That's why I'm
There's
confused.
a Rose Weasley.
There's a
in
Rose
the Cursed
Weasley.
Child.
Well, she's in the epilogue, I'm pretty sure. That's Ron and Hermione's kid.
But
His name is Rose.
don't.
But why is there a Rose Potter descending down from Sirius Black?
1990 to some. So Sirius must have had a conjugal visit with a Potter.
There aren't any other Potters. What's happening?
Apparently.
That is not canon. Whatever that is not canon. Unless it's for a
Hugo and
fan
Rose.
fiction.
Maybe.
Oh, I can't read that.
There, that one. Either way, we got our answer.
We
Ryan
did.
and Wahlberga.
Oh, they blasted all the people off.
That's kind of cool.
See?
Yeah.
There's Uncle Alphard.
Yep.
He's gone. Andromeda's gone. Sirius is gone. Phineas is gone. Oh, Phineas. Phineas, Nigellus. There he is. I think that one, or maybe it's that one. I don't know. There's a couple of them on here.
Either way. We just Googled Black Family Tree. And there's a bunch of breakdowns of the family trees.
There's another
Images.
Phineas. Janice, Flora, Harfang, LaCroix, Melania. This is worse and worse the more I look at it. Here's a Yaxley. Oh my god! What does that say?
Lola.
Lola. Lola Black. Lola. What the heck, Lola? What the heck? Alright. Yeah, either way, there's our answer. They're cousins. Somehow. This is confusing family tree right here.
Right. Maybe we should just suck it up and watch Fantastic Beasts.
Or are they the only blacks that like marry each other
Maybe.
in here?
I think so.
Ew! What? Everyone else like branched out? What's wrong with these two?
Look, options were getting scarce, all right? As the families merged together, it just all kind of blurs.
But they could have got another Malfoy in there somewhere, maybe. I don't know. You know, there's only 2 Malfoys on this tree.
Yeah, but Orion had the money, and we know Alberga's the gold digger, so...
I know, but he knows that she's his...
Gotta keep the bloodline pure.
Well, nobody else did. They all married other Sacred 28 families. He could have married a Crouch or a Weasley. There's literally one Weasley on this tree. He could have married a Weasley.
Yeah, but they're Weasleys.
That's true.
Look, this is how it happened, okay?
This has got to be Phineas, like, the headmaster.
Yes,
right there.
keeping the money in the family. Like, he can't help it. It was just family reunion. Wahlberga caught his eye. Wahlberga caught sight of that thick wallet.
I mean,
And it
she
was
would
just-
know anyway, because she's related all up in here.
And it was just cha-ching at first sight.
But what would be his motivation? She sounds like she's been awful her entire life.
Maybe Orion has, like, no backbone. She was just like, you're gonna marry me. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe his dad, Arcturus, made him.
And that's...
I don't know.
And yeah, maybe Orion just has no backbone. That's why we only hear about Wahlberga, because she's like, you know, just stepping all over him.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, just, yeah, pretty much just, we're going to get married, whether you like it or not.
It's less confusing than the Targaryen tree. I'll give it that.
That's true.
It's way less confusing than the Targaryen tree. Still trying to make sense of the Targaryen tree. I look at it every once in a while.
That's for another stream, I
It
think,
is.
when we talk about Game of Thrones.
But I look at it sometimes, and I'm just trying to... I try to figure it out, and it's so
We
hard.
might have to do a Game of Thrones stream soon. Do some spoiler streams where we kind of
Can just
do our
talk about
theories and talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that'd be good. There's a lot. I know. I have to censor myself every time I say something.
Especially with the new show going to be being released soon.
Ah, yeah, House of the
House of the
Dragon,
Dragon.
right? Yeah.
And I saw an article, and Martin says that he's very happy with it.
How much did they pay him to say that?
Oh, a lot of money.
Is he actually happy with it?
I don't know. Just because when the final season came out of Game of Thrones, he didn't say he was happy with it. He was just kind of silent about it.
That's true. He really didn't say anything, good or bad. He just like didn't say anything.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, maybe
You know-
maybe it's gonna be good. I don't know.
You think they're ever going to come up with a Game of Thrones theme park?
That'd be awesome.
Right?
I'd go to the Game of Thrones theme park. What would you do there?
You never know who's going to make it out. This could be your last vacation. Every once in a while, you'll just be sitting down to dinner, and then the what's the song that plays?
Reigns of Castamere.
Yeah, it just starts playing.
I was listening to a different video, and they were talking about the Lost World. And there's a character whose last name is Stark in the
Yeah.
movie. He gets eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And the commentator just goes, "See this guy Stark? He went way too far south." And we know what happens when Starks go south.
They don't come back.
They don't come back.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be awesome. I would go to a Game of Thrones themed
Park.
park, yeah.
There'd have to be like jousting and stuff.
It's I say like, oh, I'd go to that, but now that I think about it, it's a Renaissance fair.
Pretty
It's
much.
just a Renaissance fair,
But dangerous.
Yeah.
With dragons.
It'd just be cool to have like a recreation of like the castles.
Like a Renaissance fair, but themed
Yeah.
for Game of Thrones. So you like have to pick your house.
Martin bought a railroad, and
I
then
know.
he made it like this dragon themed, or is it direwolf? I don't know. The mural on the train is very difficult to understand, but why doesn't he just buy like a castle and make his own like Game of Thrones theme park? There you go.
Spared no expense.
They have that like deal. I forget where it is. Maybe it's Italy or something, or Scotland, someplace where they have castles. You can basically go and live in these castles for free.
As long as you renovate them.
Yeah,
right?
as long as you're renovating them or helping with the upkeep.
Yeah.
Or you can buy them like super cheap or something like that.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, Martin, get on this. Buy a castle, call it Winterfell. There you go.
Put some hot springs in there.
Yeah.
Oh, dipple pants. Oh, dipple pants.
Or the Red Keep. Or
Casterly Rock.
Buy a bunch of them and turn them into like Game of Thrones themed hotels. And then for all your ghost hunters, you can have your Harrenhal.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Very nice. That's a good idea. I'm digging it.
Right? And
River
then
Run, Casterly Rock.
you could just build them
Winterfell.
around the world, have one like in northern Canada or something that could be your Winterfell. And,
Yeah.
can go down to like Brazil. I know there's no castle, but you know what? Martin has enough money, he could build his own castle down there.
In Brazil.
And that could be like not Highgarden. No, yes, Highgarden.
It's not the kind of environment I picture Highgarden to be, but it could work.
No, it's more desert, isn't it?
No, Highgarden is like lush and deciduous and green with flowers. It's like temperate forest.
Okay, fair enough.
Dorne would be like Arizona,
Yeah.
New Mexico.
Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking Highgarden was like more tropical.
That'd have to be like Noth or something.
Either way.
The Southern Isles.
Either way, Martin needs to get on this.
How expensive would it be to stay in these places, though? Be crazy.
Oh, super, super expensive. You're staying in a castle. Come on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then,
Would you want to stay in number 12 Grimald Place? No.
Nah. Depends. Are you staying in it before or after Sirius like renovates it? You know.
Well, if Sirius is there, Buckbeak is there.
That's true.
Creature's there.
Rowling makes a Grimald Place hotel, and there's just like this animatronic elf that just walks around and insults you.
It'd be great. People would line up for that. It'd be awesome. Everyone gets their own, and he insults you based on whatever is.
I don't know.
Wrong with
That's
you.
kind of creepy. That's like what's the
Did
game?
you say that there's a
Five
restaurant
Nights at
where they do that?
That's like the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Isn't there a restaurant where they do that?
Yeah, it's up in Boston. It's
Yeah.
called like Dick's or something like that.
Yeah, and they're just mean to you the whole time.
Yeah, the waiters and waitresses just pick on you the entire time.
Yeah.
It's great. They'll like put cones on your head and stuff and write stuff. It's great.
You have to be very confident to eat there, I guess.
Yeah. And like I was saying, I don't know who was the first person that went in there and the waiter was just like, you know,
Really rude.
you sure you want to supersize that, man? I don't know if your pants can handle that. And they were like, this is awesome. I'm coming here again.
Right.
They're just like, all right, just going to keep insulting you until you come back.
I don't know.
Well, when I went there, we went to it in Boston. I don't know if there's places.
Like if it's a chain or
yeah.
something. You would know better than me.
So yeah, I don't know.
Lola's very soft.
Yes, she is.
She feels nice. She's warm too.
But on that note, maybe we should end it so you can get some rest.
Yes, that sounds
You're
good.
not feeling too good.
Yes.
So
I think we have to call it a day this time.
So yeah, sorry to anyone just tuning in. We've had to call the stream a little bit short. Our resident reader has had her booster, and it's kind of kicking her butt.
A little bit. A little bit. I
Resident
apologize.
voice actress.
Yes.
So yeah.
I apologize to everyone. I thought I was stronger than the booster. I'm not.
All right, Katie. Take care.
Au revoir, everybody.